Thank you, Vishay. It is such an honor to be on this panel with you, Carlos Martinez, and such a stellar group of peace advocates. First of all, thank you all so much for your continuing efforts to inform the public why the world community should say no to the US-China Cold War. Today, I'd like to talk about the victimization of Americans in this Cold War. The escalation of the US military in the South China Sea has created its first real human victims. You see, when the US points a gun at China, it is Asian Americans who get shot at. Asian Americans are the first casualties of this Cold War. Asian American women, elderlies are being killed, our children being bullied in schools, and adults assaulted physically and by hate words. Asian Americans no longer enjoy the fundamental human rights to safety and security in our own country. The calm that every citizen should enjoy going about their own business in their own country is no longer available to Asian Americans. I have lived in the United States since 1967. This is the most trying time for me, my family, and all Asian Americans, especially those who live in big cities. Most of the Asians I know are carrying some kind of weapons with them when they go out. I carry a pepper spray, and my keychain has a sharp, pointy end, and I sometimes wear a whistle. It may be an overkill, and I never imagined myself doing something like that. But we saw videos of Asians being battered, being assaulted. And just a day ago, I saw a video of two women, Asian women, sitting in an outdoor cafe in New York's Chinatown. A non-Asian person walked up to them and just slapped one of them in her face and walked off. It was horrific, and it broke my heart to see anyone slapped like that. We need to defend ourselves. The hate incidents against Asian Americans in 2020 represents a 150% increase over the year before. Close to 4,000 hate incidents have been self-reported to the Stop AAPI Hate website since March 2020. Now, racism and discrimination against Asians and other minorities is embedded in our US history. The United States has never been able to tackle this serious social problem, and it just let it fester. The hate and rage from the American populace are most intense when the US is at war with a particular minority group's country of origin. For many years, American Muslims lived in fear and faced hate, violence, and massacre in the US and other Western countries when the United States and her allies were fighting in Muslim countries such as Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, and Libya. It is now a pattern that each time when the US is planning a war with a particular country or region, it will then plan some propaganda stories targeting US citizens that make us hate that country and its people. I recall Americans hated Iraq's Saddam Hussein because we were told that Iraqi soldiers were killing Kuwait babies in incubators, raping women, and Iraq had a large arsenal of weapon of mass destruction, which would be used to do dangerous harm to the US. I recall Saddam Hussein told the US he didn't have any of these weapons, but Secretary of State Colin Powell took a tube of powder and told the UN Security Council that US had the proof. They turned out to be lies, but these lies prepared us sufficiently for war with Iraq and resulted in an estimate of over up to 1 million Muslims and 5,000 American servicemen killed. Iraq is a destroyed nation after we had our shock and awe war game with them. Right now, the Biden administration is going by the Trump's playbook in accusing China of genocide against the Uyghurs. The US Office of the Legal Advisors, which advises Congress and different US departments, including the Secretary of State Office on International and Domestic Issues, has refused to find China committed genocide against the Uyghurs. They found insufficient facts to sustain such a label under the 1948 UN Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. But the US Congress and the White House went ahead and sanctioned China for genocide, and even got EU and Australia to do the same. To me, it is like a jury that came back after hearing all the evidence and acquitted the accused of a crime. But the government went ahead and punished the accused and handed down a sentence to him. Does this all make sense? For Asian Americans, it certainly makes no sense because we are now the recipient of a public scorn that is not even based on any proven, rational, or established fact. Some people said Asians should not link the hate crimes to the US-China Cold War. This would give China a break, and it doesn't deserve, and excuse it from all the bad things that it is doing, in particular, human rights violations. They name Hong Kong, a country where I was born, Taiwan, and Xinjiang as the basis for China's human rights violation and reason why we should maintain the Cold War against China. Hong Kong and Taiwan are China's domestic and sovereignty issues, and we have no right to say anything about that. And the so-called genocide in Xinjiang has already been determined by the United States' own attorney that it could not be established under the rule of law. The evidence is so speculative and conjectural, but the Western media plays it up and prints only negative articles about China to substantiate a non-existent fact of genocide. BBC even doctored and cut and pasted a video that China produced in order to fake an image of forced slave labor. And these lies, exaggerations are the reasons Asian Americans will continue to suffer under a hate that is sanctioned and promoted by US foreign policy. The rhetoric used by our government leaders are so inflammatory, so cleverly crafted, it leads to one thing: hatred of China and its people. But the bullets fall on Asians in America. In the face of increasing violence against Asians, I believe Asian Americans have one choice to make: demand peace from our own country and say no to any kind of war, because life for us will never get any better if the relations between US and China does not improve. And US military operations, as US military operations are being ramped up, Asian Americans are falling. But we may still have a window, small window, to fight for peace, and it is now. There's no other option except peace for all humanity. On behalf of Pivot to Peace, I wanted to express my deep appreciation again to Carlos and NATO Cold War and Vijay for all your hard work for putting this program together and allowing us to participate in this program. Thank you so much.